The beast in the valley. The wind howled through the rocky valley, carrying the scent of blood and broken branches. Lyra stood at the edge of a cliff, her purple eyes scanning the deep forest below. Her long coat flapped in the wind, and her hand rested on the energy blade at her hip. This place was called the Valley of Bones by her people, the Xorians. No one came here willingly. No one returned without scars. Somewhere down there, the most dangerous predator on the planet had gone. Missing, and according to the satellite drone, a human had been spotted near it. Impossible, Lyra whispered, narrowing her eyes. No human should have survived that close. The creature they were looking for was called a Tharnak, a massive beast with armor-like skin, 6 clawed legs, and jaws strong enough to bite through steel. It had escaped from its containment zone 2 nights ago. Since then, 2 patrol teams had vanished. Their last transmission was only screaming, yet the drone didn't show death or destruction. It showed a man, smiling, and the predator calmly lying beside him. Lyra didn't believe it. She had seen what the Tharnak could do. She saw it tear apart tanks during the border wars. It feared nothing. It obeyed no one. But the evidence was clear. She moved quietly through the thick trees. Her boots barely made a sound. Every branch, every leaf, every stone could be hiding danger. Her hand never left her weapon. Then she heard it. Laughter. A deep, calm human laugh, echoing in the still air. Lyra froze. Her heart pounded. She crept forward and parted the leaves in front of her. What she saw made her breath catch. There, sitting, on a flat rock was a human male. His clothes were dusty and worn. He had dark hair, rough hands, and sunburned skin. He looked relaxed. He held a piece of meat in his hand. Right in front of him was the Tharnak. The beast stood taller than a hover truck. Its body was thick with muscles and scars. Its yellow eyes glowed softly. But it wasn't attacking. It wasn't growling. It was waiting. The human tossed the meat into the air. The Tharnak snapped it from the air like a trained animal. "Good, boy," the human said, smiling. He reached out and scratched behind the monster's ear. Lyra nearly dropped her blade. Was he petting it? She couldn't believe her eyes. This wasn't possible. The Tharnak should have killed him in seconds. Instead, it looked calm, even friendly. She stepped out from the trees. The Tharnak turned its head fast, growling low. The human raised a hand. "It's okay, buddy, easy. She's not here to hurt us, I think." Lyra raised both hands. "I'm not your enemy," she said clearly. "I'm just confused." The human stood up, brushing off his pants. "That makes 2 of us," he said. "Didn't expect company out here." "You're alive," Lyra said slowly. "And the Tharnak, he's not attacking you." "His name's Buddy," the human said, giving the beast a pat. "And no, he's not attacking. He's a good boy, aren't you?" Buddy let out a soft grunt. It sounded almost like a purr. Lyra blinked. "You trained it?" The human shook his head. "Not trained, befriended." "Befriended?" Lyra stepped forward, still cautious. "That thing has killed over 40 soldiers. It burned our outposts. It's a weapon, not a friend." The man sighed. "Maybe to you. But when I found him, he was wounded, starving, and afraid. I treated his wounds, fed him, gave him space, took time. He could have killed me, but he didn't." Lyra didn't know what to say. Her brain couldn't understand what she was seeing. "You humans are insane," she muttered. "Some say brave," he replied with a grin. She studied him carefully. His calm nature, the way he moved around the beast, the quiet trust between them. There was no fear, no control, just a strange bond. "What's your name?" she finally asked. "Jack," he replied. "And you are?" "Lyra, captain of the Xorian Research Guard." "Nice to meet you, Captain," he said. "Want to join us for dinner? Buddy doesn't bite, unless you run." Lyra stared at him, like he'd lost his mind. But deep down, a small part of her was curious. How had this human done the impossible? She didn't know the answer, but she was going to find out. He calls it. Buddy Lyra didn't sleep that night. She sat by a low campfire while the human, Jack, rested peacefully against a tree, snoring softly. But it wasn't his snoring that kept her awake. It was the beast. The Xarthon, now calmly curled beside Jack, like a guard dog, had its huge head resting near the firelight. Its breathing was slow and steady. But every time Lyra blinked, her mind screamed that it should be ripping them both apart. She whispered to herself, "How is this real?" She had studied apex predators her whole life. The Xarthon species was marked in galactic archives as untamable. Every attempt at training had ended in slaughter. Yet here she was watching one nap like a sleepy pet. And worse, the human had named it Buddy. By morning, Jack stretched, yawned, and tossed a chunk of fruit into the air. The beast caught it, in its jaws without waking up fully. "You treat it like a pet," Lyra said, shaking her head. "Like it's a harmless dog." Jack smiled. "Well, he's better company than most people I've met." Lyra crossed her arms. "Do you understand what you've done?" Jack stood, brushing dirt from his clothes. "Fed a hungry animal. Cleaned his wounds. Talked to him like a friend, that's all." "That's not all," she snapped. "You broke the laws of biology, psychology, even logic. This predator was built to destroy. It doesn't make friends." "Maybe he just needed someone who didn't point a weapon at him first," Jack replied calmly. Lyra opened her mouth, then stopped. What could she even say to that? She had seen how her people treated the beast. Drones, blasters, cages, pain. Jack had brought meat, patience, and silence. And it had worked. They began walking through the valley together. Jack said he wanted to find a clean stream. Buddy walked beside them, his heavy footsteps leaving deep prints in the soft soil. Lyra asked, "Why are you even here, human? This is restricted space." "I crashed," Jack said simply. "My pod malfunctioned during re-entry, landed right in the middle of your monster zone. And instead of calling for help, you made friends with death?" she asked. "Didn't have much choice," he said. "Buddy found me on day 2. I couldn't move. My leg was broken. Figured if he wanted to eat me, he would, but he just sat nearby, watched me suffer. I talked to him, maybe out of loneliness. He listened. Then, he brought me a dead bird." Lyra's eyes widened. "He fed you?" "First he didn't eat me, then he fed me. After that, we just sort of stuck together." They walked in silence after that. Up ahead, the trees parted to reveal a shimmering stream. Crystal clear water ran over smooth stones. Jack knelt and splashed water on his face. Buddy followed, drinking deeply. Lyra took in the view, but something else caught her eye. Tracks. Fresh ones. Not Xarthon, not Jack's. Another predator. She crouched, tracing the marks. "There's another one out here." Jack didn't look concerned. "Yeah, I've seen it once. It's not like Buddy. More aggressive, red eyes, fangs too long for its jaw. Even Buddy doesn't like it." As if hearing his name, Buddy growled low. Lyra stood up fast. "We should move. Now." Jack shrugged. "You're the soldier. Lead the way." They started walking again, but Lyra couldn't stop glancing over her shoulder. Something about this second beast felt wrong. The tracks were fresh. Too fresh. Then she remembered. The Xarthon species were territorial. 2 apex predators in their same valley meant one thing: a fight was coming. And if Buddy was truly bonded to this human, he might defend him. She glanced at Jack. He was humming. Humming. Like this was a nature walk. She whispered, "You really trust that monster with your life?" He smiled. "I've trusted worse things. At least Buddy never lied to me." Lyra didn't answer. She just looked at the giant creature beside them, calm, loyal, and dangerous. Jack called it Buddy, but Lyra now knew. If the other beast came, The galaxy might see something no one ever imagined. A human and an apex predator, fighting side by side. You should be dead. The sky above the valley darkened with thick clouds. A storm was coming. But Lyra barely noticed the rumble of thunder. Her focus was locked on the human walking beside her. Jack, the man who should have been dead 10 times over. And yet, here he was. Laughing softly as he walked, with a monster casually trailing behind like a bodyguard, Lyra couldn't hold it in anymore. You should be dead. Jack blinked. That's kind of rude. I'm serious, she said. Any other being would have been eaten, torn apart, or ripped in half within seconds. That thing isn't just dangerous, it's a walking natural disaster. Yet you're alive. Jack stopped. He turned and looked at her. There was no smile this time. I almost did die, he said quietly. My leg was shattered. Infection was setting in. I didn't have medkits, no shelter, nothing. And he was watching me the whole time. He pointed to Buddy, the massive predator now sniffing a tree like a curious pup. I figured death was coming. But he didn't strike, he just sat. Close enough to kill me, far enough not to scare me. Day after day, I talked to him just to stay sane. Lyra frowned. Talked to him? Yeah, Jack nodded. Told him about Earth, about my dog, Ripper, about how people always called me too reckless. Maybe he liked the stories, or maybe he just liked not being alone. Lyra shook her head. You're not a scientist, not a trainer. You're not even military. What are you? Jack grinned. A mechanic. Lyra froze. You're telling me a ship mechanic tamed the most dangerous animal on this planet? Yep, he said. Guess fixing engines teaches patience. Before she could argue, Buddy suddenly stopped. His head jerked up. He sniffed the air, growled low. Jack tensed. Trouble? Lyra drew her blade. The other one. It's close. The forest went silent. Even the birds vanished. Then came the sound. Crack. Crunch. Snarl. Through the trees came a second beast, even larger than Buddy. Its skin was blood red. Its eyes were glowing. Its teeth dripped saliva like acid. It wasn't curious. It wasn't cautious. It was hungry, and it had found them. Buddy roared. Not just a warning, but a challenge. Lyra stepped back. They're going to fight. Jack looked at her. We need to help him. What? Lyra gasped. That thing will rip him apart. Not if we back him up, Jack said, grabbing a sharp metal rod from his bag. You're insane. I've been called worse, Jack said. The two beasts clashed with a crash of claws and muscle. Buddy leaped forward, biting into the red predator's shoulder. The other one howled and smashed him against a tree. The ground shook. Trees split. Blood sprayed. Lyra watched in shock. Buddy was fighting to protect them. Jack shouted, Come on, Buddy, don't let him win. The red beast pinned Buddy down. Its jaws opened wide, ready to end the fight. Then Lyra moved. She sprinted forward, blade flashing. With a scream, she slashed across the red predator's face. It shrieked and backed off, stunned. That gave Buddy just enough time to get back up and slam his full weight into the beast. This time, Buddy didn't hold back. Claws tore. Teeth sank deep. The red beast finally collapsed, motionless. Breathing hard, Buddy looked at Jack, then at Lyra. Then he sat down like a good boy. Jack patted him. Told you he's a softie. Lyra dropped to her knees, gasping. Her hands were shaking. She had just helped an apex predator kill another, and it had let her live. She looked at Jack. That thing protected you, then it protected me. Yeah, Jack said softly. I think he trusts you now. But why? Jack smiled. Because you stood with him. That's how trust works. Lyra stared at the beast. She had grown up fearing these monsters, studying them, watching recordings of soldiers dying, and now she was sitting beside one, covered in dust and blood, but alive. You should be dead, she whispered again. Jack chuckled. Maybe. Or maybe the universe just wanted us to meet. She didn't smile back, but she was beginning to believe it. The secret behind the Bond night returned to the valley, but it didn't feel the same anymore. The air, once full of fear, now held a strange calm. Lyra sat near the fire, staring at the sleeping predator only a few meters away. Its chest rose and fell slowly. Its mouth, still stained with blood from the fight, hung slightly open as it snored like a thunderstorm. This beast, this Xarthon, should have killed them both by now. Instead, it had saved them, and now it slept like a giant house cat beside its human. Jack was sharpening a stick lazily. The flick-flick sound of stone on wood was oddly peaceful. Lyra broke the silence. "I need to know the truth." Jack raised an eyebrow. "I've been telling you the truth." "No," she said firmly. "I want to know everything. How did this happen? You did something no one has done. You bonded with a killer." Jack thought for a moment. "Okay. But it's not a magic story." "Doesn't matter," she said. "Start from the beginning." He tossed the stick aside and sat forward. "First day I was injured. He found me, watched me. I talked to him not because I thought he'd understand, but because I was alone. Second day he brought me food. Third day I dragged myself to a river and he followed. Never attacked. Just stayed close." Lyra nodded slowly. "He accepted you." "I think he was curious at first. Then he started responding. Head tilts, grunts. When I tried to stand, he leaned down like he wanted to help. I thought I was hallucinating." Lyra glanced at the beast. "You fed him raw meat?" "Yeah," Jack chuckled. "It's all I had. Shared what I caught. Fish, mostly. I didn't train him. I didn't command him. I just respected him." "Respected?" she repeated. "Yeah," Jack said. "Most people try to break predators, beat them, chain them. But where I come from, we learned a different way." He stared into the fire. "My dad raised wolves. Real earth wolves. He never caged them. Never shouted. He earned their trust by becoming part of their world. Slow, careful, patient. That's what I did here." Lyra's eyes widened. "You used earth animal behavior on a Xarthon." Jack nodded. "Why not? An animal is still an animal. It eats. It feels pain. It feels fear. Once it knows you're not a threat, it watches. Learns." She looked at Buddy. The name still felt ridiculous to her, and saw what she had missed before. He wasn't just tamed. He was connected to Jack. Every move, every sound, every glance, they understood each other without speaking. "This goes beyond science," Lyra whispered. "You didn't change his instincts, you changed his trust." Jack looked at her. "That's the real secret. The bond doesn't come from fear or control. It comes from choice. He chose not to eat me. He chose to protect me." Lyra stared at the flames for a long time. She remembered how her people treated the Xarthon. Cages, shocks, experiments, always with the goal of controlling it. But this human, he never tried to control. He trusted, and somehow, the beast trusted back. Then a new thought hit her. "What if this could work with others?" she said aloud. "What if this isn't just luck?" Jack smiled. "That's what I've been wondering." Lyra stood. Her voice trembled, not from fear, but excitement. "Do you understand what this means? If we can bond with apex predators instead of killing them, we could change everything. We wouldn't need to fight them anymore." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You mean peace?" She nodded. "Yes, true peace. With nature. With the wild. With beasts like him." Buddy opened one eye and blinked at her sleepily. "Great," Jack said, leaning back. "Next thing you know, you'll be asking me to teach classes." Lyra smirked. "Don't tempt me." But inside, her thoughts raced. If a human mechanic could do this alone, what could be possible if more humans tried? Maybe this was just the beginning. DNA doesn't lie. The lab lights flickered above as Lyra stood behind the observation glass, her arms crossed tightly. Inside the room, Buddy lay in a large energy field, not as a prisoner but as a subject. Dozens of alien scientists buzzed around him, collecting saliva samples, blood, and fur strands. Machines beeped softly, scanning his muscles and brainwaves, but the real shock came from the screen in front of her. Jack leaned over to look. That his blood results? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, and it makes no sense. Jack shrugged. I get that a lot. No, you don't understand, she said. His biology has changed. Jack's smile faded. Lyra tapped the screen. See this region? That part of the Tharnic brain is normally hyperactive, full of rage and aggression. But in Buddy, it's calm, balanced, almost like a domesticated animal. Are you saying I made him tame? Jack asked. Lyra looked up at him, serious. I'm saying your presence rewired his brain. This isn't just emotional bonding. It's biological. Jack whistled softly. So I'm a walking science experiment. No, she said. You're proof that a human can change a predator from the inside out. Jack looked at Buddy, who yawned behind the glass and then playfully batted a scientist's hovering scanner with his claw. He's still the same guy to me. Eats too much, snores loud, and hates getting wet. Lyra frowned. It gets weirder. She turned to another screen. It displayed Buddy's DNA sequence, glowing with colored lights. There are foreign markers here, chemicals we don't recognize. They're not part of our planet. Jack blinked. Wait, what does that mean? Lyra's voice lowered. It means something changed inside him, something that isn't natural, something that started after meeting you. Jack looked confused. You think I infected him? Not infected, she said. More like, your presence triggered something like a forgotten gene. A sleeping part of him woke up. Jack rubbed his neck. Now you're saying I'm magic? No, Lyra said. I'm saying maybe the key to taming predators was never about chains or control. Maybe it was about connection. One of the scientists called from inside. Captain Lyra, we need you to see this. She and Jack rushed in. On the display wall there was a brainwave chart, Buddy's neural activity recorded over the last few days. The spikes of aggression, usually high for his kind, had dipped almost to zero. But something more shocking appeared. Next, every time Buddy heard Jack's voice, a specific brain center lit up. Recognition. Attachment. He responds to Jack's voice like a bonded animal, the scientist said. The same way a child reacts to a parent's voice. Jack blinked. Whoa, I'm his dad? Lyra ignored the joke. This is serious. This proves it's not just emotional. His brain thinks you're important, like family. Buddy looked at Jack through the glass and thumped his tail. Everyone in the room jumped. Jack laughed. Yeah, he does that when he's happy. Lyra turned to the team. We need to scan other Tharnacs, see if any of them show similar reactions. If Jack's bond can trigger this response, we might be looking at a new path forward. A younger scientist stepped forward. Captain, permission to speak? Lyra nodded. If this is true, he said, then humans might be the only species who can bond with predators like this. It's not just the Tharnac that changed. Maybe humans give off something that others don't. Maybe it's chemical, or maybe it's emotional intelligence. Everyone went quiet. Jack scratched his head. So, what you're saying is, I give off good vibes and monsters like me? The scientist looked serious. More than that, sir. I think you're the missing piece we've been looking for all along. Lyra stared at Jack, her voice a whisper. You didn't tame the beast. You awakened something ancient inside it, and for the first time Jack didn't smile. He looked at Buddy through the glass. The creature stared back, calm and steady. What had started as survival had become evolution, and evolution, Lyra realized, never moved backward. The attack on the base, the alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across the Rexorian science base. Scientists scrambled, dropping data pads and running for shelter. Walls trembled as something heavy hit the outer gates. Again, boom, another hit, stronger, closer. Lyra ran through the corridor with Jack close behind her. Buddy's massive footsteps echoed like thunder as he galloped beside them, sensing the danger before anyone else did. "What's going on?" Jack yelled over the alarm. Lyra's voice was sharp and urgent. "A wild Tharnak, bigger than any we've seen. It followed us back from the valley." Jack's face darkened. "You mean another one?" "No," Lyra said, looking back. "This one's different, meaner, smarter. It didn't roar, it waited, planned. That's not normal." The base doors slammed shut behind them as they entered the command room. Screens showed security camera feeds, trees flattened, soldiers retreating, the beast ripping apart drones like paper. "It's going to breach the inner walls," one soldier shouted. "We can't stop it," said another. "We need air support." "Too late," Lyra snapped. "It'll be inside in minutes." Everyone turned to look at Buddy, who stood calmly by the door, eyes fixed on the screens. Jack stepped forward. "Let him fight." "No!" Lyra shouted. "He's not a weapon." Jack looked at her. "He's not. But he's a protector. You saw it. He doesn't fight for orders. He fights for people." Buddy let out a low growl. He understood. Without waiting, the creature turned and ran back toward the exit. "Open the outer gates," Jack yelled. Lyra hesitated for only a second, then barked, "Do it!" The steel doors opened, and Buddy charged out into the smoke. Outside the base, the wild Tharnak stood 3 times Buddy's size. Its hide was darker, eyes glowing like coals. Unlike Buddy, this beast wore battle scars across its body, from weapons, from other beasts, from survival. And it wasn't just attacking, it was searching. Jack and Lyra watched from the upper wall. "It's looking for something," Jack said. "Not food, not territory. It's looking for him," Lyra said. "Buddy." As if on cue, Buddy leapt from the shadows. The 2 beasts clashed in a blur of claws and teeth. The ground shook, metal fences crumpled under their weight, trees exploded as they were slammed through them. Soldiers fired energy shots to help, but nothing stopped the wild one. Then it grabbed Buddy's throat. "No," Jack shouted, fists slamming the railing. Buddy struggled, but he was smaller, weaker, and losing. Jack didn't think. He just ran. "Wait! What are you doing?" Lyra called out after him. But Jack was already at the weapons rack. He grabbed a shock spear, threw on a chest plate, and bolted out the side door. At ground level, the air was thick with smoke and dust. Jack could barely see, but he followed the sound of snarls and roars. He found them near the burning wall. Buddy was pinned beneath the other beast, claws digging into his chest. Jack raised the spear. "Hey!" The wild Tharnak turned its massive head. Jack charged. With all his strength, he drove the spear into the creature's side. It howled and swatted him across the field like a rag doll. Jack hit the ground hard and didn't move. Buddy saw it, and something inside him snapped. He roared louder than ever before. The wild Tharnak turned back, but this time, Buddy wasn't the same. His eyes glowed brighter. His muscles surged with power. He slammed into the beast with full force, lifting it off the ground and smashing it into a boulder. Then, one final bite, straight to the throat. The wild Tharnak stopped moving. Silence fell. Buddy limped over to Jack, who was barely conscious. The creature gently nudged him with its nose. Jack coughed. "You did good, boy." He passed out. Later, Jack woke up in the medical wing. Lyra sat beside him. "You're insane," she said softly. He smiled weakly. "So I've been told." She pointed to the window. Outside, Buddy was curled up, bandaged, but alive. "You saved the base," she said. "We had drones, walls, and weapons. None of it mattered. But you and him," Jack interrupted. "We're a team." Lyra leaned back. "Maybe this is what the galaxy's been missing." "What?" he asked. She looked out at the peaceful valley beyond. A human and a monster, fighting together, not against each other. Respect-earned days passed. The valley that once echoed with growls and gunfire was now quiet. Jack sat on a stone outside the base, his arm in a sling, his face covered in small cuts and bruises. But he smiled every time he looked up, because Buddy, his giant beast of A friend was resting nearby, surrounded by flowers and sunlight like a sleeping mountain. From above, dropships landed quietly. The Rexorian High Council had arrived, not for war, but to meet the human who tamed a legend. Lyra stood beside Jack as the council stepped forward in long, flowing robes. Their expressions were hard to read, equal parts wonder and fear. The lead elder, a tall female with silver skin and sharp black eyes, spoke first. Human, you have done something no Rexorian, no scientist, no warrior, no species has ever achieved. Jack shrugged. I didn't do much, I just fed him, talked to him, and didn't try to kill him. Whispers ran through the crowd behind the elders. Lyra stepped forward. He didn't tame the beast, he made a friend. That bond protected this base, saved lives, and it changed everything we thought we knew. The elder looked at Buddy, who opened one eye and stared directly at her. He didn't growl. He didn't move. He understood. The elder bowed her head slightly. To show respect, she said, we offer you a title, not as a soldier, not as a citizen, but as a symbol. She raised her voice. From this day, Jack of Earth shall be known as the Beast Whisperer, protector of harmony, friend of the wild. Jack blinked. That's a lot. Lyra leaned in and whispered, take it before they make it longer. Jack gave a short nod. Thank you. But can I ask something instead? Everyone froze. He continued, don't just honor me. Learn from this. Study this bond. Use it. Teach others that fear isn't the only way to survive. There was silence. Then the elder smiled. You ask not for reward, but for change. That is worthy of respect. Cheers began to rise in the crowd. Rexorian scientists, guards, and even civilians clapped. Some cried. No one had ever cheered for a human before. No one had ever cheered for a monster either. Later that evening, the sun was setting. Buddy sat at the edge of the cliff overlooking the valley. Jack walked up slowly and sat beside him. Not bad, huh? He said. From death world to dinner parties. Buddy let out a soft grunt. Jack patted his thick hide. You changed more than just me, you know. You made them see the truth. Buddy didn't respond. He just stared at the sunset. Lyra joined them a moment later. She carried a small badge, metal with the mark of the High Council on it. They made this for you, she said, handing it to Jack. He looked at the symbol. What does it say? She smiled. It says, the man who listened to silence and found something worth hearing. Jack laughed. Poetic. Lyra sat beside them. You reminded us that monsters aren't always what they seem. Sometimes, we're the ones who make them monsters. They sat in silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. In the distance, other creatures moved in the forest, but none came close, because they knew the apex predator had found his pack, and his pack had a human in it.